Hey guys, Brad McCraw, CEO, executive producer of MOSAIC Pro Events, here with the Crew Call Pod. If you've been listening along on Apple, Spotify, and watching on YouTube, you've seen we've had a few episodes here, some fun ones with staff, with contractors. We've talked about church production. The goal of the Crew Call Pod is to talk to industry leaders about industry things. And one of those things is talking to, like I said, industry leaders. So other owners of production companies, other producers, stage managers, you name it, we're going to get it on there. And today we've got a fun one with Nick from IPS. Hey, Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man.
So
Brad, it's good to be on with you.
Yeah. Me and Nick go way back, which I'll go into kind of the origin story of me and Nick, which is pretty fun to hear. But before we get started, why don't you just, for those who don't know you, tell a little bit about yourself, a little bit about IPS, what you guys do, how you got into it. Just give me a little, who is Nick and what's IPS?
Yeah, so I am Nick, the owner of IPS. We are a production company based out of Nashville, Tennessee. So we started our company about 9 years ago, close to the same time as Brad. That's how we met each other. And I was in college for business and took a different path to production than a lot of people in this industry do. I decided to jump right into ownership, and I think it's worked out okay. It was a bit of a fun ride to get to where we're at in the time we've done it, but man, the Lord's really blessed us, and excited to be joining you today on this podcast.
I love that. I love it. Hey, I just decided to jump right from A to Z, just right into ownership. Not like, I didn't decide I'm going to climb the ladder. I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to jump right into ownership.
That was that slow and steady approach. I don't know. That's never really kind of fit the mold.
Slow and steady at all, yeah. So a little bit about IPS. Tell us about what you do, what's your focus over at IPS?
Yeah. So live production and permanent installation. So live production, you think Nashville, where we're at here, is Music City. So country music, Christian music are our primary focuses on the concert touring side. So thinking audio, video, and lighting from a concert touring perspective. And then on the permanent installation side, our largest market is house of worship integration. So everything from audio, video, lighting, acoustics, consulting, design work on the permanent installation side is what we cover there. So a lot of interesting things happening, effectively two companies under one brand, integrated production solution.
And they kill it. They're some of the best in the business by far, and Nick's one of the best. So me and Nick go way back. It's kind of a funny story. When, like he said, we kind of started at the same time. It's been 9 years ago. I think, it was 2017. I just started MOSAIC. It was just me by myself, trying to make money. Nick was in the same boat, and we ended up on a CIY, if you know what that is, if you're kind of from the church world, Christ in Youth.
Oh, yeah.
Tours. And I think because it was both of I think it was your first CIY also, right?
It definitely was. It was a rocky start, for sure.
So I think because it was both of our CIYs, even though he was out of college, I had a career, it was both of our CIYs. We started at the very bottom. We were like the newbies to CIY. We were both just looking for work. So they stuck us in the most rural ghetto. I mean, we were middle of America, Ohio, Kentucky. I mean, if it was the bottom of the barrel, I went to my first Dollar General because of Nick. That was fun. I'd never been to a Dollar General, which I guess is a big thing. What was the restaurant? Cookout? Is that what it's called?
No, I don't think it was that fancy. There was this little mom and pop ice cream and dog shop across the street.
That's right. Yeah. So we experienced, middle of America, sleeping in dorm rooms with no AC. Ugh. I mean, church volunteers to help us load in. I was the PM. Nick was the LD on that tour. And we probably did 8 cities over that summer, I think.
That's about right. Yeah. Ranging in size and scope. But, I don't think either of us knew what we were getting into.
We definitely, trying to, if you've worked in this industry or worked with church volunteers on sets and strikes, they're always great on that install. Like they try their hardest, but the moment that show is over, I think we loaded out many shows. It was me, you, and one other guy just loading semis by ourselves because all those church college kid volunteers just decided to bail on us, which is pretty standard over there. And then you started IPS, man, which is awesome. It's been so cool to kind of watch that. Like I said, we kind of started at the same time. Yeah. Were you in Nashville at that point? You were in a different city at that point,
I wasn't. Right? So started in East Tennessee, just outside of Chattanooga. We went to school at Lee University. So
that's right.
Christian college.
And that's kind of where the first business started, right? Was at the university?
That's right.
Yeah. So we kind of started at the same time. I started as a freelancer. Nick started, like he said, he just went straight to owner. He just climbed that ladder quick. Started to do some at Lee University, and kind of what I guess what led to that stuff? Just because you were on the college campus and doing college production?
Yeah, I needed a job. And in high school, I was like a bag boy. So I wanted to do something better than that in college. And they had an events division. And I was a pastor's kid. And if you grew up in the church, you did a little bit of everything.
Right, that's
and
how I started.
I wanted to jump right into the AV side. Lee University produced at the time about 800 events a year. And so they needed very cheap labor. And I fit that bill.
What were the 800 events? Like, what are they doing at the university?
Numerous chapels. At the time, they were bringing in Christian artists to do events on the weekends. Everything from a speaker and mic all the way up to full production.
Wow. And you were right there. So did you have, it was a full-time paid, what were you paid, $10 an hour?
Oh gosh, no, $7.25.
Wow. And it was a
minimum wage.
Full-time, 40 hours plus?
It was way more than 40 hours, which was probably something we shouldn't have done, 16 plus hour days in production. But hey, if you worked enough, you got a 25 cents raise every quarter.
Okay.
It was something to look forward to.
And you were going to the school, sleeping in dorms. So you just lived the full life.
That's right.
There's theaters at the campus. Is that what you guys were doing inside of theaters, or was it outside venues?
Mostly theater spaces. There was multiple venues.
Okay. So then that obviously that's kind of where you got to start. And then when did kind of tell the audience the IPS transition? Obviously you said you wanted to jump straight to owner. I remember we had that conversation
honestly,
early on.
I came back from that CIY tour where you had talked about, hey, I think you were 6 months in to MOSAIC at that point. And I was like, I need to start a company. So that was August, having those conversations coming off of CIY. By October 4th, we had founded what is now IPS. So very quick transition. And our company started out of a dorm room. I drove a sedan. We were too young to rent box trucks, because if you wanted to commercially rent a box truck, you had to be 21. We were 19. So what that meant is we had load bars in my sedan from the front window to the back window. And we would go around to different Penske dealerships and rent personally. And it was so much crap that we had to do. But just imagine load bars and cable just laid up in a dorm room. That was us.
That's amazing. Yeah, it was you as one of your best friends, right? In college?
Yeah. He's still here. Nathan is my business partner. So we work very closely together.
How cool is that? Yeah, from the beginning. From the beginning. So what was the kind of the core? I know you guys are doing, I mean, you do a ton of concert stuff, you do corporate stuff, you do integration. What was the start, the integration side? Where was the start?
It was integration for churches in the Southeast. Being a pastor's kid, I had a decent network within the denomination that I grew up in. And then outside of that, we were fulfilling rentals for the university. So of those 800 events, they would probably rent equipment for 50 of those events. And we would source that equipment. We didn't own it, but we would use Nashville-based suppliers. And that's kind of where we cut our teeth in trying to understand, how does this rental market work?
Yeah. Yeah, and how long did it take? I mean, you know my story. I've never went, and I've talked about it on the podcast. We've never went into the gear at all. I own zero equipment. Yeah. I mean, I think I've got a couple laptops in the back from. Actually, I own. Here's what I own. Back in those days, I think it was probably where I got for the CIY tour. We got our first event. I would call it first corporate event. It was at Lake Powell for a missions organization. And they needed some Mackie speakers, a little audio console. They had 2 microphones. It was a whole missions event. They would come through. Kids from all over America, all over the world, actually, would come to America to discover different parts of America as part of this missional organization for their college campuses. And one of them was Lake Powell and Grand Canyon, and they just needed us to come up to Lake Powell and produce the event for them. So, man, I got excited. I was like, "Oh, this is it! I've got $6,000. I'm going to go buy all this gear," and it's still sitting in the back. That's the only piece of equipment. So from 10 years ago, I still own there's probably 6 Mackie speakers back there, poles to put them on, and that's it. That's all I own. So that was the extent for me. And I thought, I do not want to do this. I don't want to manage gear. I don't want to manage the process and purchase. You went totally the opposite way. I mean, you guys started at that moment. So what was the transition? You guys were obviously renting out that gear to get to that point where you're like, man, let's just start buying some of this stuff and make this a thing.
Yeah, it really came out of we realized that our margin was thin on the sub rental and the way we were doing events because we were trying to be a middleman from a rental house to an end user, and wanted to make a dollar on the actual rental. So not just on the labor or producing the event, but actually on the rental. And so our margin was thin there, and so we wanted to start buying. And one thing I can say about anyone in small business is it's very hard to find capital to grow in something like this, especially when you think in our industry, investors, banks, they don't really understand what we do. It's an industry that's not very professional. And so record keeping and data is just not there. And so getting our funding to get started was a horrendous process.
They just don't.
Sure.
I mean, we talked about this in a couple of episodes. I mean, our spouses, mine, thankfully, like you, we'll talk about that. We just did an episode, me and my wife, who works with me, and your wife works with you as well. So they kind of understand. Yeah, they understand the industry, but everybody else, I mean, staff spouses don't understand the industry, let alone investors or tax guys. I mean, talk about a struggle trying to convince a tax guy what we do for a living and how we do it. Like, there's just no comprehension.
What? Are you a studio? Do you record things? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is.
I brought we do one big event in Phoenix, obviously where we're based out of here, and I brought our tax guy to the event, and it's the same thing. It's like when you first time you bring your parents out to an event. So what exactly did you guys do here? Like, how much of this stuff existed in the room? I was like, buddy, none of it. He's like, well, what did you own the trucks to get it here? Especially for me, because he's like, none of this makes sense. Because he's like, do you own the trucks to get it here? Like, are those a tax write-off? I was like, nope, I don't own the trucks. He's like, well, do you own any of this gear? I was like, nope, I don't own any of this gear. He's like, none of this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a whole. I mean, we could go a long road like that. Trying to convince people of what we do and how we do it is just such an interesting dynamic. So, integration side, long-term rentals with churches. Obviously, that led to events and producing, a lot of concerts for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Which is great.
So the integration side really expanded early on. From about 2017 to 2019, we were fulfilling equipment rentals locally in the area, but we vastly grew into integration all across the Southeast. So we were sourcing equipment for permanent installation, actually going out and handling the installation. Small business, you did everything. Yep. I did the books, I did the install, I did the sales, all of it. I look back now and I'm like, I don't know if I remember how to do all of those jobs, right? But that's what happens when you have really good people around you. They start to take care of things. But integration, it grew fast. So fast forward to 2020, and we made a big leap of faith in growing our business and moving it to Nashville.
So wait, let's stop right there. 2020. Yeah. I mean, everybody hears 2020 and they think, "Holy moly! How did this before pre-COVID, post-COVID? What is this?"
Pre-COVID.
So big investment pre-COVID, which most people, if you said big investment pre-COVID, they wouldn't even be here because they're out of business at this point.
That's right. Faith is a big thing for us, and we'll talk about it a couple of times here. But we had a deal brought to us in the middle of January. The deal moved from start to completion in 6 weeks, which is just absurd if you've ever done any kind of acquisition or merger or anything. So we moved this thing fast from the middle of January through when we knew we were confirming this deal, which was mid-February. We made the move to Nashville. So by the middle of February, I'd convinced my wife, hey, quit your job in Chattanooga, come with me, come work at IPS. And she did it. She trusted me. And we get here and we formally launch IPS on March 2nd of 2020. Wow. And 2 weeks later, it all kind of comes to an abrupt stop.
Wow. So let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, I've definitely got the stories too that got us through COVID. Obviously that's the scariest thing that could possibly happen. In our industry, it was like only moldy. Our industry just doesn't exist anymore. I'm assuming the integration side helped during that time because of churches.
It did. So we were a team of about 15 people going into COVID, and we sustained that all the way through. But integration was a big part of keeping that momentum, because outside of when you think about an integration project, it could be a couple of months, it could be 2 years. And several of the projects we were working on in that time were 2-year projects. What that meant is COVID mattered. It slowed down timing of things, but it did not bring those projects to a halt. And so you still had that trickle of funding to keep your doors open. One of the biggest challenges we faced at the time was because we made such a leap of growth from 2019 to 2020, a lot of people had major PPP loans or idle loans. I don't know if you remember some of those terms that were very common at the time. We didn't qualify for them because we scaled so fast, and that scaling happened weeks before COVID. So how do you explain to the government, hey, we are supporting all of these people? And they look at it and they say, well, in 2019 you didn't. So it sounds like you grew your business in COVID. So there was a lot of intricate things we had to work through. But most importantly, we had to keep our faith because we had to understand, God, why would you bring us here? What are you doing? And it caused a lot of questioning, but we hunkered down, man. And we look back on 2020 now as a year of development. We did a rebrand. IPS was not the original name of our company. And so we came out with this integrated production solutions. What does that mean? It means we're an integration company, we're a production company, and we're solutions focused at our core for both of those divisions. And so we had to define our brand and start growing our culture and our staff. And so many things had to be developed. So 2020 was a year of that for us. And I think that's really what allowed the exponential growth that came from 21 to where we're at now in 2025 is taking that time to focus in on things that you wouldn't do if you were just knee deep in work all the time.
What a cool, what a cool moment. I mean, for us, it was very similar. We got into COVID. There was only 3 of us on staff. We had the same issue with PPP loans. We were operating like a business. But all 3 of us were still doing freelance work. So there really was not a ton of revenue from the business side to prove that MOSAIC had enough funds to even support staff. So we didn't get the loans. Thank God. I mean, usually I probably wouldn't do this nowadays, but we had a really big client sign on in January. We were going to produce their event in July. In our contracted terms, which I just discovered with our lawyer at that time, we just got through our whole, rebrand. We went through a rebrand as well. We were redoing our contract, our terms. We had an 80% cancellation clause in that term. They'd already signed everything. We'd started getting gear and labor locked in. COVID happened. Thank God this client was amazing. They're like, hey, we totally understand this impacts your business. That 80% deposit, just keep it. It's yours. Like the event's obviously not going to happen. We're going to cancel it, but that's yours to have. And I mean, that was huge. So it was, at that point, we talked to our vendors. We're like, man, we understand you guys need to survive. You got families. We're not expecting anything because you didn't use us for the events. So we got to keep that 80% really free and clear, which is just a huge godsend. It kept us through for 6-9 months. And then we had a couple clients, conservative clients that started doing stuff again, some church clients that started doing stuff really deep into COVID that more other people weren't doing events. So that was a huge saving grace for us that ended up canceling and we ended up keeping that deposit. But what a transition. What I loved about that transition moment, we were such a small company, we're doing big productions, but we're not considered, competitors to some of these other big box production companies. But one thing I loved about that, although they probably didn't love it, everybody kind of had to equalize themselves. There was a lot of layoffs, which is sad, but it kind of took the big guys and we all became equals all of a sudden because we all had the even playing ground. Like everybody that had these clients had lasted for 10 years. Some of them weren't even doing events anymore. So we were all chasing new clients. No clients cared about your inventory because a lot of people had to sell off inventory. So it kind of equaled the playing field for us where we were kind of started to play with the big boys. Whereas before that, it was kind of a steeper climb. So it's amazing what God can do in those moments when you really trust him. And I think we're in the same boat. Like, man, if our faith had to get us through that year and a half, and without that, and then same thing. We've seen so much since then, so much growth because we were resilient in those times. And the blessings we've had since 2021 to now has just been exponential and just awesome. So that's cool. It's cool to hear those stories and see where everybody was at in those times. I mean, we all talk about pre-COVID and post-COVID. That's kind of how we see world. It's kind of BC now in our life. Like there's BC and so that's kind of how we see things. So that's cool. So how did you guys go from the integration side and get into I think you started, obviously your background was lighting. So I'm assuming the natural progression and the concert side of things was to start providing lighting for concerts.
That's right. That's right. So COVID caused some unique opportunities in the market. So there's a lot of production companies in Nashville, but there was some consolidation and some closures that happened in 2020. What that caused is a lot of clients in 21 that needed a new place to call home. And so we saw a huge leap into country music coming into 21. Up to that point, we were primarily focused around Christian touring. This is a relational industry.
Yeah.
If you don't know someone, you're not getting an opportunity. And so we signed on with a couple of contracts for Russell Dickerson and Mitchell Tenpenny, two pretty notable names that are very constant in the country music world, and they've been with us ever since the start. So one thing we like to tout or focus in on is client retention. You know, I'm focused around sales a lot in what I do, but the easiest way to grow your sales is to first keep the sales that you have coming in the door.
Right.
So how can you retain these customers and take care of them? Because they're going to be able to sell more than you can. They're going to grow. They're going to tell their buddies, hey, you need to call Nick. Nick's going to be able to help you. And I know you work the same way. It's that it's relationship driven. And so from 21 up to 25, it's word of mouth, it's spending time with people, it's golf, it's doing these things that you get to spend time around people and learn about them. And why are you in this industry? What are you passionate about? You know, the way we look at it, Brad, is we try to decide what's the best opportunity for somebody. I'm always going to ask you if you golf, because we love to do that and have fun. And I tell everybody I'm not going to be a PGA player, so let's get out there and let's just have some fun. And so you determine how much time do you need with somebody. Do you need an hour? Okay, take them to a coffee or take them to breakfast. Do you need 2 hours? Great, let's take them to dinner. You want 4 hours? All right, let's go play some golf. That's how we determine how much time we should spend with people.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think we're both in the same thing. It's word of mouth has been tremendous for us. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I can't picture the last time I had to like hit the pavement hard on the sales calls and stuff, because a lot of it just comes to me, which I'm super blessed by, and I get to be a little picky and choosy about who we work with. I want to work with people that we believe in and support clients we believe in. So, man, that's a huge blessing. But it does. It starts with relationships. It starts with relationships with who you have, with, you know, what you're doing, how you're doing it. We just had this conversation amongst our staff about, you know, retaining clients. I've got a couple clients recently, and they've been with production companies, producers for 10 plus years. And I'll ask them, and I'll be straightforward. I was like, don't, like, if you're happy with those people, don't, just because you saw something flashy I did, like, don't think you have to come over to MOSAIC and use us. Like, that's great. I'm super flattered, but like, if you trust them and they're doing a great job, just stick with them. Like, that's, I don't want to steal anybody's business. And usually the response I get is, they've been awesome for many years, but they've got too comfortable. They're not pushing the envelope. They're not coming up with new creative ideas. They've just kind of got stuck in a rut. Or I'm starting to get the B crew as opposed to I used to get the A crew 5 years ago. So yeah, part of this podcast is just educating producers, production companies, and clients. Like, man, don't get to that point. Like, that's the easiest way, is use those relationships. Not only the relationship, the personal touch, but when you get complacent and you start to think, oh, these guys have been using me for 10 years. I'm sure they're going to use me in year 11. Like, no, there's a good chance they won't. Like, so we're always trying to push the envelope. What can we do this year that we didn't do last year? What can we do with our backstage that we didn't do last year? What can we do out front? How can we change the design? So yeah, that's a good point. I think we all need to think about that and push each other. Like, let's not lose that edge. Like, even if it is an existing client, which it sounds like you guys have great rapport with those country artists in the same way.
Yeah, that's right. And same thing goes for the integration side. We scaled integration from 2022. We started making some pretty strategic hires in the industry. And from there, word of mouth is, oh, you brought so-and-so over, and it starts to scale. And so that team grew fast. And with that, clientele came with it. That what we tend to find is, especially in the house of worship world, customers trust specific people. And if that person trusts the company they work with, inherently you gain some of that trust. And so early on, we gained trust through the people that worked for IPS. And we needed that to scale integration. But that retention piece is still there. You know, something that seems to be missed in the integration space is, man, let's go make $1 million. Let's land a big deal, and let's move on to the next one. Yeah. And what we tend to find to be most successful is, you may find a customer that's going to spend 6 or 7 figures with you. And yes, that may be the biggest deal they're going to do for the next 2 years to 5 years, maybe 10 years. But if you stick with them, they're going to spend their operating budget year after year, which is still good money for you. You're going to be able to service their equipment, make them happy. And once again, that word of mouth piece comes back to win over and over again.
Critical.
Because those happy customers not only want to continue working with you, they want all their friends to work with you as well, because they say that IPS has this thing figured out, MOSAIC has this thing figured out, and you need to call Brad, and Brad's got you. So that's who we are. It's a pretty straightforward process.
Yeah, and it's not hard.
It's not, and I'm happy to share that with you. I'm happy to share that with everybody. Is like just take care of people.
I feel like that all the time. I get some weird feedback from clients, from venues we go into, and they're like, man, you guys you're so easy to work with, and you provide so much information. And I'm like, honestly, like, we're at the end of the day, we're in the service industry, like it or not.
That's right.
I know, some people look down on that term, but we're 100% in the service industry. We're here to provide a service. And glorify that. That's a wonderful thing to be able to, we're part of from the integration side to the concert side to the corporate side, we're a part of some amazing opportunities and providing amazing experiences and amazing, when you go into churches or like facilities for people, like what a cool opportunity to be in a service provider where you get to provide these experiences and facilities for people. Like, take pride in that. Service doesn't have to mean something negative. I don't think it should mean something negative from doing yard work to what we do. Like, service industry is an awesome thing, and you should take pride in that. But so many people have lost that edge, that service industry edge, especially in our industry, where they kind of get a little conflated egos. I don't know what it is. You start to do bigger events, or you start to do bigger concerts, and you kind of forget, like, the roots of it is you're still a service provider, and you still need to provide that service at an excellence factor. So I appreciate that about you. Obviously, I think that's why we connected in the first place, because we both had that mindset and have kept that throughout the years.
So I got a little plug here for you. So sitting right in front of me is this book called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Bro, one of my favorite books.
It's focused around service, and we tell our team all the time what you just said. We're in the service industry. It is not a bad term. I think we all automatically think, oh, that means you are a bartender or a server. No, it doesn't.
But even if you are, people, like, what's wrong with that? Like,
it doesn't.
Some bartenders are the best counselors in life. Like, how many people do you know have been counseled by a bartender and it changed their life? Like,
absolutely.
Just embrace it. It's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so Unreasonable Hospitality, it's a great book for anyone, especially in the service industry. It relates to all businesses. There's so much that you can learn from it.
Yeah, I actually found that book late. I probably found that book probably a year ago. So it's based off the restaurant industry. But the author was a restaurateur, and he's an awesome. But I read it, and I quote it, and I bring little snippets to staff meetings, and it's all service based, and it's awesome.
That's right.
I appreciate that. I love that you're doing the same thing. That book, it's changed my life. So back to the, so from integration to concert, corporate, you guys are doing it all, which I love. You guys are doing it all at an excellence level. What do you guys run into? I mean, what are some hurdles with taking on three different, I'll see those as almost three different industries realistically. I feel like I'm on the corporate side. You're kind of tackling all three at once. What are some highs, some lows of trying to navigate all three of those at one time?
Brad, that's a great question. So we put our customers in buckets. We call them vertical markets, and we currently serve 12 vertical markets, which sounds like a lot. It is in ways. 4 of those are on the integration side, majority of them on the production side, because you have to understand what works for your specific customer. The way you approach a corporate deal, address them in meetings, is so much different than the way I'm going to go into a deal on a concert tour or a dry hire. If I'm just going to work with another company that needs some gear, there's a few steps I can take out of that process to make that transaction happen. And so as you identify how do you approach your customers, then you realize that a lot of it carries forward. So if you want to scale into new markets, how do you approach that customer? Do you need a market expert that understands that industry and can come on to your company and say, here's what I can do for you. Here's what I understand about this market. Let's take the IPS narrative and let's transfer that into how we can grow. So a newer market on our integration side is the cruise industry. So we have been in this market now for about 15 months and have seen great success, and it's rapidly scaling because it's a market that doesn't have a lot of competition comparative to what you see in house of worship or in concert touring. But it's harder work. You have the same type of venues. You have a theater, but it's on the water instead of on land. That presents new challenges that you have to work through. And so understanding the engineering and design that goes into that and the different aspects of how you make that system function is how you're going to be able to scale in those markets.
Wow, how wild. I don't think I knew that about the cruise ship. So what's driving you for these vertical markets? You're fine. Like what led you to the cruise ship market? Just based off of a need? Somebody reached out to you? Yeah.
Yeah, meeting people, understanding the potential of what's out there. I think a lot of people in business say, well, just identify your niche and just stick to it. I hear it all the time. And I see that. I respect that. I think it's part of the young and hungry part of me that, stay hungry and stay humble and just grow and surround yourself with really good people, and the sky's the limit. And so I look at it and say, why be held back to just corporate events or just concert touring when we can take these same principles and transfer that on to new markets? And so that's really what has allowed our company to scale. It's not saying, we figured this concert touring thing out. No, there's so much more there, and we're scaling that, but that doesn't stop us from going in on more corporate events or in on more dry hires or whatever that may be.
Yeah, it's such a cool perspective. I think once you're doing it, it's such an excellence factor and excellence, just what you guys are doing. So it makes sense. At the end of the day, the nuts and bolts are the same, right? It's the same. Yeah. It's audio consoles, it's lighting consoles. So it makes, if we're doing it at excellence, we've got a great team that we're surrounded by, we trust these people, why not take on a new market? I've stuck with one market. I'm probably the opposite. Like I said, I stick with what I love and how I love it. But I'm still super engaged. I'm still on every event that we do, most of the big events that we do. That's what drives me. What drives me is being out there and being creative and producing the live event. So it's just, it's just a different perspective, but we're always taking on, I always get asked all the questions, the same thing. Like, as you continue to grow, why or what are you looking for? And really it's just, I want to work with more people that I love working with and take on new challenges. Like you said, it may not be going into cruise ships. I don't see myself doing that, but I'm taking on different clientele and producing different events. So it's once you've discovered the key, like I said, the nuts and bolts are the same, the audio consoles are the same. Yeah. How can you take that and take it to a new level or a new demographic? So I appreciate that about you. I've admired that about you. Like I said, I'm a completely different path. Probably I try to stick with what I know and love. But I've definitely admired watching you from afar and just how you've grown it and how you're not afraid of those challenges and taking on those new markets. So kudos to you, man. You've become an amazing business owner, and it's fun to watch from a distance. And when we stay connected, it's been fun to watch over the years. So kudos to you on that. Yeah. We just released an episode about wives working in the industry. Me and you both, we have our wife working with us and for us, which it's an interesting dynamic. It's kind of a fun podcast episode. If you haven't listened to it, go take a listen. Let's talk about that, man. We talked about, so Jenny is a little different. That's my wife. She works hand in hand with me on the event itself. So I'm usually the executive producer of the event. I'm calling the show. And then she's the stage manager. So we joked a little bit about it. She gets yelled at on ClearCom sometimes, which is a struggle, and we had to get used to. Talk about that for your demographic. I mean, you and your wife work together. She works in the office with you. You guys obviously have kids. How are you balancing the work-life relationship?
Yeah, it was a bumpy start. My wife is the director of HR.
That's literally how our episode started. It started out bumpy. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife's the director of HR at IPS. I get asked this question all the time. Might as well mention it on here. How does that work? You're the CEO. She's the director of HR. And I say, it works great. And they say, so you're sleeping with HR. And I said, yeah, I am. But
funny story. I'm going to jump in real quick. This is a funny story. Speaking on that, the HR violation, we did. We had CPR training here at the office. We decided we're on the forefront of all these events. We're in the room. There's who knows what an emergency will happen. Let's do CPR training for our whole staff and some of our contractors. Had a CPI certified trainer come into the office. A lady, amazing lady. She was great. She did a great job. We get to the Heimlich maneuver where we all had to partner up. This lady's oblivious that me and Jenny are married at this point. Like, she just thinks it's a male and it's female. They work together. And we're doing the old Heimlich maneuver, and she's touching, I'm wrapping my arms around Jenny and giving her the Heimlich, and I'm getting a little gropey, like intentionally. And you could just see this lady's face, and she's looking at us. She's looking at the other people. Like, is this a weird HR situation? Should I be concerned? Yeah. And I was up front with her and I said, "Hey, is it normal when doing the Heimlich maneuver to get aroused?" And she turned bright. She had no, and then everybody starts laughing. They're like, "They're married. It's not a thing. It's fine." Like they all felt sorry for her. I thought it was hilarious, but just side note. So so same thing. You're obviously the HR violations are probably in the office when you give a little smack on the tush, but it's hard to, the HR lady can't complain if she's the HR lady.
There you go. It's funny. We tell some people, we don't tell others. It's like, let's see if we can play this thing out. But yeah, it's great. We had to learn each other, communication styles. She has to know when it's boss Nick, when it's that was a big part of I'm telling you this is what needs to happen versus husband. And those are some of the hardest conversations and hardest things to work through is, are you talking to me as Nick, the husband, or are you talking to me as Nick, my boss? And that's tough. And as business owners, we work together. We're in this thing. But when we look at the hierarchy of a company and the structure we have here at IPS, there's times where things are the way they are. And that's really tough. And it takes a lot of time to work through that. We've been working together now for only 5 of the 9 years we've been in business. Before that, she just watched what was happening, but now she's all in on it. And I think she likes it, Brad. There's days where she's like, this production thing, it's interesting. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. But she hangs in here with me. She enjoys it. And it honestly is the way that she can gain a lot of perspective of what's happening, what's Nick working on, what's going on every day.
Of course.
And it keeps us from bringing so much of it home, because what we had to realize is work is tough at times. Things are stressful. Not every day is going to be great. But when you walk in that door, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they are so happy when you walk in that door, and you need to be able to put all of that down and be dad and be a husband. And that's really what we've worked on as a family, is how can we maybe discuss these work things at work, and when we get home, be parents.
That's a great perspective. Yeah, that's obviously a struggle we went through during the beginning. Yeah, how do you leave that at the office? How do you leave that on show site? We talked about on that episode where she'll get distracted backstage and I'll have to yell it over ClearCom, and everybody's like, oh gosh, are they going to make it tonight? Are they going to sleep in different hotel rooms? Like, no, like this is what we do. This is how a show happens. Like she's at the end of the day, she's my wife, but in that moment she's working for me and I have a show to do.
That's right.
But we had to get to that point where it's like, okay, this is business the moment we get home. And again, what a great perspective that you're able to diverge some of that stuff and those struggles before you even walk away at 5 o'clock. So when you are home, you're fully engaged, as opposed to you bringing those things home with you. That's a great perspective. So kudos to you guys for doing that. That's awesome.
Now, we don't get it perfect.
Of course.
I think that's what we want to be able to do, but I don't get it perfect. But I do try to preserve those first couple hours. When you get home, it's dinner time, it's enjoying the kids. Our kids being so young, I mean, they're down early. So there's always time for us to talk about things later. But what I've come to realize is something may be frustrating at 5 o'clock, but by 8 o'clock, when it's time for me to maybe talk about that with my wife, it's probably not that frustrating anymore. And so you really need to just take that time to just breathe and enjoy some life with your kids. And then you realize, it's not that big of a deal.
We talked about on an episode, our culture. I've tried to do the same thing. We do based off of, we've talked about spouses. It's hard for them to understand what we do. So we have an open invitation. We're a small staff. We have 10 staff members, and we have about 50 contractors that we use exclusively for all of our shows. And all of our contractors know their spouses, husbands, wives, kids. Anytime we're doing an event, if their spouse wants to come out to the event and see what they do for a living and hang out at the 5-star hotel with us, they're more than welcome for the same thing. Because even it is a struggle to work with your spouse. What a blessing to be able to work. Yeah. As much travel we do, it's a blessing to be able to take your wife, your spouse with you to travel. Right. We don't have to say goodbye at the end of the day. All of our other staff members, there's obviously their spouses don't work with us, and their contractors' spouses don't work with us. So we don't take that for granted at all. And you guys, you get to see each other throughout the day. Like, what a cool blessing that a lot of people don't get to experience. Even though there are struggles, it's really awesome to be able to experience all these things with your spouse that a lot of people don't get to.
That's right.
We try to make that part of our culture here at MOSAIC. Just your wife, your husband's always invited. Just bring them out. We want it to be, even though we're blessed that we get to do it, like, bring yours out. Let them see what you do for a living. Let them celebrate you, and then let them go hang out at the pool while you're working from 6 a.m. till midnight. So that's kind of a cool thing that we have. Culture. Let's talk about culture. You guys have an amazing culture there. What's two things I talk about culture all the time, but then I talked about non-negotiables. So tell me, IPS, what's the culture like at IPS? What do you guys kind of see as your thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your thing over at IPS?
Man, I had to learn a lot about culture because when I started IPS, I was a workaholic. I just worked. I didn't think culture was important. I said, what does it matter? You get a paycheck, you do your job, and then go home and enjoy life. And it took some time to learn. And I think that's that young part of me. You know, starting a company at 19 is you had to gain some perspective and had to be around other people long enough to understand who they are and what drives them and motivates them. And so we have an awesome facility we work out of here in Nashville, 75,000 square feet with
you guys just expanded,
great
right?
offices.
You're expanding?
We did. So say that again.
You're expanding?
Yeah, we're expanding. So 75,000 square feet here in Franklin, just south of Nashville. The majority of that being production and integration. And then we are expanding our studio space as well for rehearsals. Awesome. So it's a beautiful facility. We have espresso machine and beer on tap and just about anything you could want out of a daily enjoyable work life. But what I can tell you is I can't buy people's happiness. I can't buy culture. So having nice coffee and beer at 4 o'clock in the afternoon really doesn't make these people happy. But listening to them, hearing out their ideas of how to grow the company or how to make this deal make sense, and sometimes getting in the warehouse and getting your hands dirty and them realizing, oh, Nick knows what this is. He knows how these things work. And yeah, I do. And you don't get to spend that time with people, especially as you're scaling. We're a team of 65 people here in Franklin. And between that's full-time staff and then part-time and contract on that, we payroll about 100 to 120 people every 2 weeks. And so it's hard to have that personal touch with everybody, but you want them to understand that we care as people. We care about their lives and their spouses. And we do as best we can to show them that through Christmas parties and things where we can spend time talking about how they matter. But at the end of the day, I want to come back to culture is built, it's not bought. And so it's that intentionality behind the little things that really make a difference.
Yeah, that's a great little slogan there. I love that. And then talk non-negotiables. We had a recent episode where we talked about non-negotiables. I had one kind of our culture and then just the MOSAIC way for our live events. It's the producer is kind of the forefront, kind of the orchestra director. And then we put a big priority on our stage manager and our A2, just because I want the C-suite who's backstage to be really set up. And we had a client that was comparing our contract to another contractor. And she's like, well, I've never hired an A2. I've never hired a stage manager. Can you get rid of those? And I had to say, no, that's just, for me, that's a non-negotiable. That's just what makes us our excellence factor. It makes me successful. So I have somebody backstage that I can trust, and it sets your presenters up for success. And we did the event, and she came back. She's like, "Man, I'll never do it without those roles again. It's just huge." Our C-suite loved it. So, yeah, what's an IPS non-negotiable? What do you see as your thing?
Yeah, a lot of it's centered around travel because, like you said, so much of the time is spent on the road for the people that work at IPS, whether on integration or production. They both have a ton of travel. And so it's single room accommodations. It's per diem payouts every day. We have clients say, well, we have meals on site. I understand you do, but this is a standard that we provide to our staff. So either you're going to cover it or we're going to cover it one way or another. I'm going to pay these things out because we want our team to be happy every single day in their jobs. And we realize that at the 15th hour of the day, things can get frustrating. But at least if they can go back to their own hotel room and feel comfortable, then they can live as good of a life as you can live on the road. And so it's little things that we find that clients are like, well, why is this so expensive, or why is this way? And it's like, well, that's just the price to work with IPS. It's what we have to have,
right? And it's amazing how once you explain it, or once they get to experience it, they're like, okay, that makes sense. Like this client was a little hesitant. Obviously, I held my ground. I wasn't going to do the event because I didn't think it'd be successful without those roles, just based off how the event was. And again, once she saw that, she's like, okay, it makes sense. Like you have to. I think a lot of producers, a lot of production companies, especially starting out, get a little skittish to tell their clients no or to push back. And it's not a good thing to always push back, but there's going to be moments where you need to push back. Like they're hiring you to be the expert They're trusting you to be the expert. So tell them what you need to be the expert. Like a lot of them just need that communication. Here's why. There's grown men and women that are working, like you said, 15-hour days. I'm not going to ask them to bunk with somebody else. Could be a stranger. Right. It could be a coworker. It could be a coworker they don't get along with. It. Like they want to share a room. Like, and these are long days. Like they need, like you said, they need meals. They need to have the freedom to have those snacks when they want them. They need freedom to run to the gift shop and buy a Gatorade. So they need that per diem. Like there's certain things with a lot of variables, a lot of time constraints, a lot of timelines that you just can't. Yeah, you can't over exude how much those things are necessities. So yeah, that's great. I love that about the culture. I love that about what you guys do. Man, what an amazing time. Our time is up here, which it went by quick. So man, I just want you to know that from 10 years ago to what I see now is just so big. I'm just so proud of you from a business owner perspective, from a husband, from a man, just a friend. Like, man, it's been so cool to watch you and the IPS journey over the last 10 years. Just super proud of what you do. Like I said, I admire everything you do from afar. So yeah, it's been an honor just to spend some time with you. I love when we always connect. We always have a good time and a good conversation. So man, thanks, Nick. Thanks for hanging out with me, man, for a little bit and just talking life and industry. It's been cool.
Brad, I appreciate you, man. It's great growing businesses on the opposite sides of the country, but so many things we can relate on. And of course, having spouses in business and all of these things are just great things to talk about. And of course, it's great to reminisce on things that we've worked together on.
It is.
I appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. Stay tuned. We're going to have more episodes like this. Like I said, just talking industry leaders about the industry and how fun it is and how the challenges and the ups and downs. But at the end of the day, we love the industry and that's what this is all about. So stay tuned. There'll be more episodes like this on the Crew Call Pod. We'll talk soon.